championship bracket round of the 2019 Iolani Classic. The team that many people have come to see, Oak Hill, getting ready to face on the Kalani Falcons out of the Oahu Interscholastic Association. Back with Dean Shimamoto, I'm Josh Pacheco. Oak Hill showing everything as advertised, holding Mid-Pacific yesterday, a single-digit scoring in quarters 1, 2, and 4 on the way to the win. But Kalani, their story in getting here, the close win over host Iolani, punching their ticket to the semifinals, and just its third win in Iolani Classic history, getting here and now facing a very difficult opponent.
Anytime you get to play one of these teams, you're not necessarily, being realistic, of course, you'd like to go out and say you're going to try and win every game, but when you look at that opposing sideline and see what they have there, they're no joke. I mean, this is a roster, as usual, a typical Oak Hill roster that's filled with Division I recruits and signees. I wouldn't say the same on the Kalani sideline, but they're going to be tough. And you saw them be tough yesterday or 2 days ago against Iolani, be able to pull out that win, and they're going to fight for this. And what are you looking for if you're Kalani coach Noah Hussey? Maybe not a win, but you're looking for a performance, and for these kids, you're looking for great experiences. They're going to see these guys next year on TV, playing games for LSU, playing games for Georgetown and Virginia Tech, and they're going to say, I did something against that guy. I hit a shot, I got a steal, I made a great pass, or maybe he dunked on me. But it's an experience that they're going to remember for the next 30 years.
What's like you were saying, I think, during one of the breaks in the last game, you coached against that guy. You coached against that guy. I mean, you go through all the names, the R.J. Barretts and the Rajon Rondos that we have seen go through this classic. It was kind of interesting to watch Kalani as kind of the warm-ups were going on. They had 10 minutes between games, and I'm looking at some of the Falcons turning the other way and watching Oak Hill warm up for about a few seconds or so before turning the attention back the other way. But what was kind of cool, many times you see a lot of intimidation, stuff like that. A lot of smiles on that Kalani side. I think they know what they're up against, but I think they're also relishing the opportunity here.
Oh yeah, this is so much fun. I mean, okay, the score may not be what they want it to be, and that may not seem fun, but at the end of the day, this is tons of fun. And I'm speaking from experience. We've been in this position many a time. We've been able to win our first game, get into the winner's bracket, and in a lot of cases have been matched up with teams like Oak Hill and Montverde and Findlay Prep. And we know it's a tall order to say that we're going to beat these guys, but even with some of our best teams. But we're going to come out and compete. We're going to be able to walk away with memories and say we did this or we did that, but there will be possessions or Kalani gets a score, and they're going to be able to reference that later in the season. They're going to be able to block out these guys that seem like they can't be blocked out. They should grab every board and score 1,000 points, but they're going to stop them sometimes. They're going to score sometimes, and they're going to be able to use that later in the season.
Oak Hill wins the toss. Starters, KK Robinson in the backcourt along with Darius Maddox and Cam Thomas. Jamari Sibley and Emmanuel Okpomo in the front court for Steve Smith in his 35th year running this Oak Hill program. The class programs across the country. Traveling violation on Thomas. Kalani on the other end, they've got in the backcourt Kaino Ali, Jacob Shibuya, the guards. Forwards, Wakea Kanahele and Micah Kouchi. Brandon Chung, the setter. And we saw Shibuya hitting shots from the perimeter in that game against Iolani the other day. That shot is stuffed by Okpomo. And on the other end, Sibley, easy lay-in. But you do like, from the Kalani perspective, your first shot. Was it one where you're kind of going away from someone and being afraid of a challenge? You're going right in on 6'9" Okpomo and playing to the challenge.
Yeah, not tentative
as well.
Not tentative at all. And, how are you supposed to know what's going to happen when you attack a 6'9" guy having never done it before? You think you might have some room, but you've never tried.
Off the leg of Robinson and an easy two-hand flush for Thomas.
Now, if you do that over and over, then maybe that becomes a problem. But the first time, I would say you rather go for it than be scared of it.
That's also turned over. And Thomas will lead a 2-on-1 and the lob for Sibley. Turnovers will be the name of the game. If Kalani can get across midcourt, they've got to go up against the length that this team possesses. But you see kind of what they're thinking as this lob won't be finished. Finished though by Maddox. You see the mind going for Kalani though, trying to get low bounce passes to get up the floor. It's, again, the length is really bothering him. And another finish for Sibley in a Kalani timeout. That's a 10-0 start.
Coach Hussey here is calling this timeout because he's not seeing the types of things that they should be doing. Granted, it's Oak Hill. They're going to cover a lot of ground. They're great athletes. They're long. But when you're making turnovers like that, where you're being indecisive, maybe off balance, or doing things that you can control and be better at, they still may tip it, they still may steal it, but how you do it is really important. And he's telling his guys, hey guys, settle down. Find the open man, focus on the pass, focus on catching the ball, break it back down to the basics and the fundamentals. No matter who you play, you need to still do that. And I'm sure that was the message in that timeout.
And that last possession was really the first one where it just kind of felt like it was really thrown away rather than, you know, we thought we made the right decision and it didn't end up being that way. Kouchi dribbling to the near side against Robinson. Lee open. And it drops. Or check that, Brandon Chung, I beg your pardon. That pull-up from Thomas is short. There's Kainoli with the rebound. And now you've got your first two, and now you hope you settle in at that point. Foul called against KK Robinson.
Important to get that first one to go down. Then it starts feeling like, hey, it's possible. We can do things against these guys. It's not going to be 1,000-0.
Into the corner, Kanahele. And a push from behind called against Okpomo. That's where you feel like you get into the half-court set, and then it feels like it's 5-on-5, not what almost feels like 5-on-11. That shot is blocked. Chung hustling, but can't come up with a loose ball. Thomas is held, and it scores. Lee called for the foul, his first. I'm seeing some of the guys who you know, Derek Lowe, right near one of the exits, taking in the action. That free throw's good. We were talking earlier, if you know basketball in the state, Jason Mandequit, he's here. You were saying earlier, his kids go to Iolani 3-on-2. Lee gets his man up in the air, but that shot is still blocked. Put back, no good though. Good fight from Chung, but it ends up in Okpomo's hands. Thomas, the extra pass, and the flush for Sibley.
Quick little smile there by Jacob Shibuya. Know that his friends might be giving it to him a little bit later. Got caught trying to block that dunk attempt.
And taken away by Thomas. Puts his hand to his mouth, little kiss, and the dunk. We've said Cam Thomas's name a lot. We did last night when he scored a game-high 33.
Speaking of dunks and speaking of Derek Lowe, he's coordinating the Iolani Classic dunk contest later on this evening.
Almost taken away. Kanahele cut off. And another steal for Okpomo. Describe Derek Lowe's hops, if you will, as Thomas finishes.
Derek Lowe was a sneaky athlete. He always had a strong build, was explosive, but he may have had maybe 2 or 3 dunks in all of high school, and they weren't, most of them were kind of just throw it in, nothing flashy. He was really that type of player. Not a lot of flash, but highly effective.
I'll give Thomas another one.
However, he did have one of the best dunks that I had seen at the high school level, especially in Hawaii, in the state tournament as a junior.
Chung from 15 feet. Thomas, Okpomo. I don't think Oak Hill has scored anything outside of the paint.
They had they've had no reason to. They've been at the rim uncontested more than a few times.
Foul on Cam Thomas. Finish what you're talking about on that Derek Lowe dunk you were talking about.
In a semifinal game in the state tournament against Kamehameha, Iolani was stalling, running out the clock, trying to end the game, and again, Derek, for the most of his career, wasn't the guy that was trying to dunk on people. You know, there wasn't a lot of highlights being made, not a lot of camera phones and Instagram. So he kind of just was effective getting the 2 points. But in that scenario, he got loose.
That's blocked underneath.
Rose up and went for it.
Brandon Chung's got 4 points.
The dunk ended up on the front page of the newspaper the next day.
Fresh 5 in for Oak Hill, by the way. Here's a drive from Delaney Hurd. It comes out to Jalen Ricks' hands. Evan Johnson's also in the game. Here he is for 3. No good. Tap back for Derek Jones Jr. And Bradley Ezewiro is also in. He didn't play last night. So that's, 10 of the 11 on this Oak Hill roster that have gotten into the game. 3 no good from Cortez. Loose ball out for Jaden Simpliciano. 90 seconds to go in the quarter. And the runner for Logan Tanaka. Kalani's got some fans in the house. Chung may have gotten away with that. And the other end, Simpliciano to the baseline. And a foul. That will go against Jalen Ricks. So say with Derek Lowe, we've gotten him, to everybody's surprise, we've gotten him into broadcasting as he works with me on University of Hawaii basketball pregame. Brandon Chung now with 6 points and 1:05 remaining in the quarter.
Yeah, Derek Lowe, for those that don't know, went on to play at Washington State, was an all Pac-10 first teamer with the Cougars. They advanced to the Sweet 16 in his senior year, and he had a really great career, played overseas for many years, and is now back in Hawaii doing commentary.
Yeah. Brought that up to someone and they said, Derek, really? Chung nearly stumbled. Shot clock's at 7. Nice cutoff, but they will whistle Hurd for the foul with 3 on the shot timer. And one of the all-timers, a 3-time Iolani Classic all-tournament team selection. Inbound thrown in for Ty Sumida. Nope. Loose ball comes off to Oak Hill. Jones hits the 3. First points outside of the paint. And the free throw line. Simpliciano runner. Final 7 seconds of the quarter. And that's good for Jalen Ricks. Simpliciano, no good. And Oak Hill showing that they are Oak Hill. 30-8, your score after 1. The 2019 Iolani Classic on BallerTV. All Oak Hill in the first quarter, 30-8 lead on the Kalani Falcons of the Oahu Interscholastic Association. As Kalani will have it to start the second quarter. Chung lost it. And Hurd will lob it ahead. Derek Jones out of bounds. We saw him with a top 10 highlight level dunk just a night ago. And you were mentioning we will see him in the dunk contest tonight, right?
Yes, we will. And it is a 30-8 game here tonight. But when you see number 23 in the game playing the top of this zone, he's going to be jumping, looking to leak out and get something.
Here he is with authority. When he had that windmill through the legs dunk, there were a lot of people up off their seats watching that. Shibuya from distance, too strong. The Oak Hill ball with their second 5 in the game right now. But Jones has tremendous hops.
Elite jumping ability. He's the guy that you watch during warm-ups. Not a lot of times during warm-ups do you allow dunks, and especially not in Hawaii high school basketball.
That 3 is good from Delaney Hurd.
But that is the difference here at the Iolani Classic. The dunking is allowed in warm-ups, and that's one of the things to watch. And Derek Jones Jr., is one of the guys to watch.
Landon Luke misses. And Hurd pushes it up. Jones. And Ezuiro, look out. Logan Tanaka, get out of the way. Wow. Ezuiro, 6'9", plays like a man. Foul goes against Derek Jones Jr.
Looks like a defensive tackle, but is 6'9", is explosive, as you could see on that dunk.
You mentioned dunking in warm-ups. That's actually something that's been kind of softened, maybe not at the high school level. You mentioned here at the Iolani Classic, it's something people can see, but the college level at one point, as that's an air ball, the college level at one point, you couldn't dunk at a certain point when the referee, oh my! Derek Jones left-handed. At one point, you couldn't dunk in warm-ups when referees were on the court. They softened that. But here, you see people with selfie sticks, camera phones. There's a 3 from Jalen Ricks. And Kalani will use a timeout. It's 42-8. You count next time Derek Jones Jr. has the basketball in his hands, how many people in the stands look down, find their phones, look back up, and hope they didn't miss the dunk once they get the video feature up on their phone.
Yeah, do you think that Derek Jones Jr. could win the dunk contest without actually doing a dunk in the dunk contest, because he's done 18 perfect 50 dunks during the game? That is a possibility.
So you're basically saying we shouldn't have the dunk contest, is what you're saying?
Well, I think you're getting a preview of it right now. You know, he may be rolling out a ball rack to jump over on a breakaway. I mean, you know, he is that explosive. He may run out of things, but I think he's just hanging in the air so long he can kind of do anything with it.
We have seen dunk contests in the past. It's really a show. It's not just, you think of kind of a mini version or a light version of the slam dunk contest in the NBA and the kind of show it's become. You get to see that with some of the best high school talent around. And the crowd, while it's a good crowd right now, it's going to get better once that contest gets underway a little after 9:30 local time tonight. Splitting defenders. Sniff and no. 17 on the shot clock for Kalani. 4 wins on the year. 4-4. Trap comes. Poked out. Oh my goodness. Nat Psyche ends up with the loose ball. Cross for Kanahele. finish with Jones contesting. And Ricks has it. Ezewiro.
I am scared for the rim.
That's out of bounds. Back to Oak Hill.
I think the reason you've seen it soften, you know, as far as the rule about dunking in warm-ups, especially at the college level, is the technology has improved so much with these rims. They can flex in a whole bunch of different ways, and the supports on the backboard and the composite of the glass is much stronger than it used to be. But I can understand that being in a high school scenario, they still won't allow it quite as often, only because a lot of these baskets are really old.
Quietly, Oak Hill has actually shown it can be really good from outside the arc, too. I think if they have missed one from outside the arc, it might be just one. Jalen Ricks hitting the last one. Marcus Thompson into the corner, and Matt Psyche. Nice find for Kanahele. Took his time up in the air. Ball comes out to Delaney Hurd. Evan Johnson. Off the dribble, Ricks doesn't get that one. Now for the junior Marcus Thompson. As we near the midway point of the second quarter. Leading scorer, by the way, for Kalani is Brandon Chung. He's got 6. Loose ball comes out. Oak Hill has it. Derek Jones, get your phones out. He gets the chest bump from his teammate Ezewiro.
Number 1, Logan Tanaka making a life decision there to get out of the way.
Kanahele for 3.
That's worth more.
Yes,
That's worth more than a dunk.
Hurd from distance. Rebound taken by Ricks. His follow is no good. And Kalani has it. Taken away by Johnson. Watch out! How many more of those will he have tonight? Tanaka spins it in. Crowd loves that. Ezewiro, though.
Oh, speaking of backboards, you saw the backboard shake on that.
I did.
These are new backboards here at the Iolani Classic. In their first year, Iolani used to have the lower extending backboards, but with the high flyers that we have continually coming to the Classic, as you can see here, there would be guys banging their head on that extended backboard, and you know, that's not a joke. I believe Josh Smith might have caught his head on a corner or something, or had to duck it out of the way, but now we have the higher cut backboards.
Maddox, no. Speaking of backboards, off the bottom, as the first 5 back in for Oak Hill. We've talked about equipment a few times. Another way this Classic has evolved with the standards and the excellence that this great event provides. Brandon Chung. Thompson. Ripped out. Pushing up is KK Robinson. Good job by Kalani collapsing defensively. Was floated out for Thomas. That's a travel. The referee did not bite on the James Harden move.
James Harden would vehemently disagree.
Well, what don't NBA players disagree with on calls like that?
I think James Harden could have taken another set without a dribble, and it still would have counted.
53-13, under 2 to play in the half. Chung. Nice hesitation. And the baseline shot no good for Thompson. Thomas. Chung challenged that. Back to Oak Hill. Any players from some of the local schools participating in the dunk contest this year?
Cordell Ing.
That's going to be exciting to watch. 5-second violation against Darius Maddox. And Cordell Ing is much less than 6 feet tall, but we saw an alley-oop attempt in Kamehameha's game Tuesday night, and he's got explosive hops.
Easily one of the most explosive athletes here on the island.
Foul called, and that will send Kalani to the free throw line, as that puts him in the bonus. Fouls on Darius Maddox.
A few years ago, we had the first local winner of the dunk contest from Kamehameha, Mr. Victorino Kato.
That's right. Cameron. Front end is good for Kainoa Lee. 7 points against Iolani Tuesday night in the 45-44 win. In that game, Kalani went 10 of 17 from the foul line, hit 5 trays. In what was a great game to open up the Classic on day 1. All net on both free throws. Oak Hill's going to try to run a half-court set. Here they're calling out plays. Well, never mind. Okpomo stripped out by Jalen, or check that by Mike Kouchi. You can hear them yelling out the play. Unless the play really was for the lob inside. 3-ball good for Jamari Sibley.
Jamari Sibley, for 3.
And Oak Hill putting on pressure defense, which has been relentless throughout the game. Kouchi uses the Chung screen. Almost a double dribble, and that is. I was hoping the referees thought that was touched.
Yeah, I think he said, well, that one might have been a double dribble, but it wasn't. Let's try it again. Ended up getting the call.
Maddox out for KK Robinson. Now Thomas fading at the wing. Cam Thomas is making his case to be the most valuable player of this Classic because he's put up points in bunches. That's out of bounds. As Lee thought about going reverse, just didn't have the ball in his hands. Robinson lays it in. That's 60 put up by Oak Hill in the first half. Shot clock is off. Nice bounce pass into the corner. And take it away. 2 seconds, will they get the dunk off? No, but a lay-in will work it up for Cam Thomas. A 62-15 first half lead for the Oak Hill Academy Warriors, who are putting on a transition and points in the paint clinic here at the Iolani Classic. We'll come back with the second half in a few. It's the 2019 Iolani Classic on BallerTV. Starting to populate the bottom half of the bracket in the championship round of the 2019 Iolani Classic. And Oak Hill, a 47-point lead, 62-15 on Kalani High School as we get ready for the second half. Dean Shimamoto, I'm not sure how much you really can put into words what Oak Hill has done. I know this has been expected with the kind of matchup put together between one of the best teams in the nation and the Kalani Falcons, the almost true underdog really coming into this game. Been a lot of high flying, seen a few threes here and there. Size certainly has played a part. It's been all put together in the first 16 minutes.
Yeah, this Oak Hill team has 62 points, but even more impressive, it was probably on 80+% shooting. And granted, a lot of layups, more than a few dunks, but they also shot, as you noted earlier, really well from three-point range. So an efficient night thus far for Oak Hill, and you know, they want to be able to get out of this game, obviously advancing, which seems likely, also without injury, most importantly, and without expending a lot because they'll have a much tougher game tomorrow night in the semifinals.
Different starting five here in the second half for Oak Hill. Evan Johnson, Derek Jones Jr., Cam Thomas misses the 15-foot jump shot. Bradley Ezuiro and Jamari Sibley on the floor. Kalani has really had to fight hard for the 15 points that they've gotten. But it's also been kind of fun to see with Kalani. I like some of what's run through their heads, some of what they've tried to make of their opportunities. Sometimes it hasn't necessarily been executed, but you kind of see the basketball IQ this team is trying to show off against a team that has just so much more talent. It's something you kind of look at really down the road. That three misses short from Micah Kouchi, and Thomas running out. Rebound for Brandon Chung.
You really think about it, how many times in your lifetime do you get the opportunity to go against the best or somebody in the top 5 or top 10 best? I don't, you know, whether you're a writer or a cook or a basketball player, how many times do you get to go up against that and experience that? And very few.
Nearly a travel. Laying good for Jones. 64-15. And it's really what you make of the experience too. And what I really liked with Kalani is some teams don't know how to enjoy it and don't know how to try to find the fun and the positive out of it. And you watch this team, I think you're seeing them try to get every ounce of what they can as Thomas will ease it in. That can help them going into OIA play and even finishing out the Iolani Classic.
Yeah, what you don't want to see, I know the score is what it is, but you don't want them to start building bad habits or developing bad habits by being in this game. You know, use it for what it is, try some things, see if it works.
Extra pass for Kanahele. Hit a three in the first half, not there. Underhand pass for Thomas. Splits two defenders and scores. And you see in the last few possessions, half-court offense, making the extra pass. That, a bad habit. And up ahead, Cam Thomas will lob it up for Ezuiro off the backboard.
Future teammates at LSU, having both signed already, Cam Thomas and Ezuiro.
It's 70-15. Two players in the same spot. In the corner, Shibuya for three. He and Micah Kouchi in Kalani's win 2 nights ago, their shooting from outside the arc was a key in getting that win. No look pass. Jones stepped on the baseline, out of bounds to Kalani. This is a nice night here at the Iolani Classic. Got the nightcap coming up, tip off right around 8 o'clock during halftime of that game. We'll recognize the team that really kind of started it all, the 1983 state championship team from Iolani. That pass is knocked up in the air. We expect some of those players from that 1983 team to be here. That goes in for Evan Johnson, who I think wanted to jam it, but last second didn't end up doing so. But talk about that 1983 team. They get recognized for what was kind of a great run that got to that state title.
Yeah, that 1983 team was what sparked the founding of the Iolani Classic. Then coach Glenn Young, tournament founder, had a really great team.
Thomas scores.
4 years in the making. They had 4 players who started as freshmen in 1980 and went on to not make the state tournament for 3 straight years until their senior year, but a very, very talented group. And that team, Coach Glenn Young took up to Las Vegas in the Christmas preseason, and they got blown out. One of the state's top contenders. Again, remember, no YouTube at that time. No Instagram.
Nobody invented the internet in 1983.
Not yet. So anything they saw had to be in person.
Let's pause for Cam. and Derek Jones. Now let's finish that thought.
I lost my train of thought. I just saw Showtime.
You were talking about they went to Vegas. As that 3 missed from Tanaka, they went from Vegas, then came back. Thomas, the follow from Ezewiro.
Played against West Philadelphia and got blown out. They got blown out in 3 straight games, and they were among the best teams here in Hawaii. And they hadn't been able to see any of it, much less experience playing against guys like that. They thought they were good until they saw that. And, you know, Coach Glenn Young, what incredible foresight. What a great vision to be able to say, hey, you know what? We need to do something here in Hawaii that exposes these Hawaii kids, these kids playing basketball, to what is out there around the country. And a lot of our kids here aren't going to have the opportunity to just travel to tournaments there. But if we can bring them here, we can give them the same experience. And later on, the following year, the December of 1983, the first Iolani Classic happened.
Chung gets that one to fall. It did hit the piping above the backboard, but they let it go anyway. Jones for 3. Deadens off the back iron. Some of the names that we'll end up talking about at some point, and one of the names that people might not think of when we talk about basketball, Mike Fetters was on that Iolani squad.
Yeah, joined the team as a junior, and you know, obviously more well known for baseball, his stints with the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
But was a standout forward for the Raiders, the Red Raiders at the time, now currently the Raiders, but the Red Raiders at the time.
The name that still really resonates and still really gives back a lot into the athletic community is Keith Spencer. Something that people talk about quite a bit.
Yeah, Iolani started out as an Iolani JV assistant coach, went on to coach for many years at Lelehua, and then at St. Louis.
That's right. Okpomo had the last basket. It's 80-24 Oak Hill. Under 2 to play in quarter 3. Kouchi. Teardrop doesn't go. And it will go to Oak Hill.
Back to Glenn Young, you know, tournament founder, had the vision, wanted to raise the level of Hawaii basketball, and I feel that it has been raised. We've had guys go on to Division I, like a Derek Lowe, and who knows, right? Maybe without this Iolani Classic, does Derek Lowe get the exposure that he needs to get an offer from Washington State? Was also getting looks from Gonzaga, Utah, NC State, Kansas at the time.
Long range for Evan Johnson. Tapped around. Thomas fading and putting it in.
What you're also seeing at the University of Hawaii at the Division I level, Samuta Avea, starter, one of their top scorers and shooters.
From Kahuku.
And Cameron Ing, Josiah Villa.
Simpliciano. Rebound Okpomo. I mean, a lot of people talk about quality of play here in the state. Doesn't bring a lot of size. That's blocked, a foul called. First foul called in the third quarter with 47.9 to go in the third. That goes up against Wakea Kanahele. A lot of people talk about quality of play because you don't have a lot of the 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" players and guys who, even if they had the talent going to the next level, maybe with their size, it would put them in a very different position with what they would play. But really the point of this tournament, and nobody's really been able to mimic it, is that you see what it's like, and if you really have the drive and if you really want it, that you know what you need to try to find to emulate in order to get yourself to as high as you possibly can be talent-wise and maybe playing at the next level.
Yeah, the analogy that I've been making to people is that Glenn Young's vision and what happened with this Classic has a similar effect to maybe that Dream Team in 1992 at the Olympics. They exposed basketball to the rest of the world, and these kids in Europe, these were maybe the young Dirk Nowitzkis and the young Kristaps Porzingis and the Luka Doncic's of the world. You know, these guys, or maybe their parents, were the ones first being exposed to basketball because of that Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan dream team, and they got to see what basketball is about, and they got to get that love and build that love for the sport in a country or in areas where maybe soccer was the top sport or something else, and having that exposure has raised the level of basketball around the world, in that case of the Dream Team. But I think the Classic and Coach Young deciding to create this tournament has raised the level of Hawaii basketball. We saw teams a couple years ago come out and beat top teams from around the country.
Cam Thomas, Lloyd Mill. Final 15 seconds in the third quarter.
In that year, speaking of those guys, Josiah Villa, Samuta Avea, Daniel Fotu, who was at St. Mary's.
I want to put you on pause for this rim rocker from Jalen Ricks. That's how the third quarter comes to an end. We've got a lot more to talk about the history of this Classic and the effect it's had on the sport here in the state. We'll do that and more when we come back. It's 87-24. Oak Hill leading Kalani. It's the Iolani Classic and BallerTV. Fourth and final quarter here. Game number 3 of the quarterfinals of the 2019 Iolani Classic. It is 87-24. It has been all Oak Hill trying to punch its ticket to the semifinal round tomorrow night. We've got one more game to go, but we first have a few more highlights to give you. Cam Thomas with the lay-in. We've got Mount Vernon and Jefferson coming up as soon as this one is over.
Expect it to be a much tighter matchup than we're seeing currently.
Absolutely. Nice head fake from Kanahele. The ball comes free, and Cam Thomas back to the rim. By the way, you know when you have a team that provides as many highlights as Oak Hill does, you know that you're seeing a special team when the PA announcer has to tell people to make sure that their flash photography is off on their phones, as they did so earlier. I'm sure we've had hundreds of pictures taken just in this game alone. All of the opportunities at the rim that Oak Hill has provided. Here's the 3 from Evan Johnson. And the rebound tapped up. Okpomo, foul called. Earlier tonight, Long Island Lutheran and Wasatch Academy moving on in very tight but differently intriguing contests in the first 2. They'll face each other tomorrow night at 6:30 in the semifinals.
2 great semifinal matchups. We don't know who's going to come out of this next one, Mount Vernon or Jefferson, but they will face a rested Oak Hill team, which
Maddox
should give them an advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. And what Steve Smith's been able to do, he's gotten everybody in for the most part, 5-for-5 stretches with their substitution patterns. That's given away again. And Cam Thomas will easily put that down with 2 hands.
You could see him proceeding with caution there, was making sure that the Kalani defender didn't go up to contest it and maybe their legs get tangled and something happens. As we talked about it earlier, first concern is no injuries.
Shibuya misses the 2. Loose ball out to Jonas Sniffen. Another opportunity for Kalani. Kanahele is stuffed by Okpomo. Ball still loose at the baseline. Held ball, and possession arrow will give it to Oak Hill. What I don't have, and what I wish I had to a degree, was how many points Cam Thomas has, because he has had a ton at the rim. We'll probably get that at some point in our final game and share that with you, but he had 33, which after 2 days was the highest point tally for anybody in the first 8 games of the Classic. Traveling violation going to be called against Okpomo.
The amount of stats now that they have access to, especially at the NBA level, but even now down to the college level, is amazing. Like, they'd be able at this point in this game to determine how many points Oak Hill got off of dunks.
Another takeaway, and Jalen Ricks. What a jam.
Marcus Thompson with a valiant attempt at the block.
And Oak Hill is 2 away from hitting the century mark. I mean, you have the, and they call it sabermetrics in baseball, but you've got the analytics that are used so much at all levels of basketball. I mean, how much were you into analytics as you coached?
It was a big part of what we did. I mean, the analytics and the numbers, they don't lie. They don't tell the whole story, but they don't lie. So if I tell someone they're not a good shooter and their percentage dictates that or shows that, then what are they going to say, right? I mean, it's clear there whether it's free throw shooting or three-point percentage. It doesn't mean don't shoot, but what it does is maybe, hey, we got to work on this a little bit more, or this type of shot. And we'll definitely use that and look at combinations. But now, again, the technology...
Max for 3.
The technology available to us with things like Huddle, they'll be able to take film that we then submit to them, and they will stat it for us and put it into a database that we can then manipulate the numbers and see what we want to see.
Maddox, look out. And it's going to be an intentional foul called on Hunter Park. And as you said, it's one of the last things you want to see. Is that kind of an entanglement on the way to the rim.
Yeah, exactly what you don't want to see. I'm not sure if it was completely intentional.
It seemed like he tripped.
Yeah,
really.
More seemed like he tripped and it fell the wrong way. But still the right call. Keep this under control, even if it wasn't, you know, prevent retaliation and just kind of stop it there. Make everyone aware. Still 4 minutes and 19 seconds left.
Darius Maddox, who has committed to Virginia Tech. 24/7 Sports has him as a 4-star rated guard. And it's 103 to 26.
Darius Maddox fell down, and you know what I got caught doing was looking down at his shoes. You look at Oak Hill and you will see a variety of Jordans on the feet of every one of these players, from retros to current ones to things that I've never even seen before on the feet of these Oak Hill players, sponsored by Jordan.
The red jerseys, numbers and letters in yellow. The 3 is no good. A good fight inside. Kalani with Shibuya gets the rebound off of the Evan Johnson miss. Open 3 here. No good for Thompson. And Oak Hill once again on the run. Here's the lob. Maddox can't drop it in. Oak Hill tries to get out of this. Hurd, pull up. It's almost kind of a weird game to coach if you're Steve Smith. I mean, you're basically sitting down. You know, I always wonder what you say in a game like this when you've got a team as up as they are, knowing the kind of mismatch you have. Well, how do you coach this game?
We talked about it already. You say don't get hurt. Be smart. Be aware. Kalani's not playing that type of game. Sometimes you get an over-aggressive opponent or a team that maybe takes offense to some of the things going on and might get a little chippy, but they're not that way, and they're playing good basketball, clean.
Don't get the jam there as Johnson tried. Stays on the rim to make sure he doesn't land on anybody. Nice hesitation by Simpliciano. Matt Psyche can't hit the three. And Evan Johnson will get the run out. Ezewiro, what's the call? He traveled.
Traveling violation, Kalani basketball.
And at the same time, too, there's still the fundamental things. You don't want to get hurt, but you still don't want to see just overall sloppiness, which can be very easy to do, too.
You can still see him giving Cam Thomas quite a few minutes. I mean, these guys don't want to get cold. They want to still stay in a flow because they have to play a much tighter game tomorrow night.
Ezewiro lobs it ahead for Ricks, who keeps it in bounds, but ahead to Kalani with a 3-on-3. Simpliciano banks it in right around Ezewiro. Jaden Simpliciano, he came over for St. Francis, also a baseball player. Played for Team Cal Hawaii. That no good. And it will be Kalani ball for the final 2:11. 2:10 make that.
Yep, every one of those buckets. For all of these 28 points, those will all be remembered.
You get a LSU commit in the air, make him bite. And then with him right off your hip, be able to lean in and score one. That's a pretty cool moment. Simpliciano now for three. And Kalani gets it back. Gets his own rebound, does Simpliciano. Gets another one of his own rebounds. And it leads to a missed shot from Jonas Sniffet. Maddox fouled. And it's on the floor.
You know what the best part of that foul was? It got Derek Jones Jr. back into the game with 1 minute and 30 seconds left.
You're right at the top of the Derek Jones Jr. fan club.
I am, and I'm looking for highlights, potentially a few warm-up dunks for the dunk contest to come later.
I think he's looking for a few highlights too. It looked like they had him working on a roll-off, maybe for a lob on the inbounds to a dunk. Out of bounds was heard. The Kalani ball.
What I wonder is how conscious of a decision that was by Coach Steve Smith. Is he just a friend of the Classic? Does he want entertainment just as much as anyone else?
When you've been here as many times, imagine maybe. 3 attempt for Sniffin. Ty Sumida hits the deck going up for a rebound, but Kalani gets it back for the final 56 seconds. And a few oohs from the crowd seeing him take that fall. 103-28. Oak Hill's going to go on to the semifinals as most people expected. Open three. No good. And Hurd coming up ahead. Okpomo. No good. Ziffin taken away. 3 up ahead. Ezewiro. The backboard and the shot clock are shaking.
The shot clock is still rattling.
3 in the corner. That's no good. Put back though, no good. It's still kind of shaking. Jones with 6 seconds is fouled before the pass. Tanner Park did not want to get dunked on toward the end of the game. I have never seen that shot clock rattle like that.
Never, never. What do you estimate Ezewiro at as far as weight?
I have no idea. But one thing I know, I don't want to stay in front of him as he is rumbling to the rim. Oak Hill won't go for a final shot. as the clock expires. 105 to 28.